I'm Bob Wendover. In the last post, I explained how multitasking is impossible, referencing the research of those in neuroscience. But I left you with the question, how do the best decision makers get so much done if they don't multitask? Over the past couple of decades of interviewing and observing them, here's what I've discovered. First, these individuals manage their energy. How much you get accomplished and how well you make decisions is directly affected by the glucose supply to which your brain has access. Too much, and like too many donuts with coffee and things like that, overloads your system. Too little, like I never eat breakfast or something like that, deprives your brain of the glucose it needs to concentrate. Physical exercise, or lack thereof, has a similar impact. Now, I'm not an expert on nutrition, and neither are most of the great decision makers. But they are aware of the impact certain foods and levels of exercise have on their metabolism, especially as they age. Now, most maintain a diet and exercise routine they've honed over a period of time. This produces the energy they need for the busy and demanding days they work through. The next time you come in contact with someone who you consider a consistently good decision maker, how about asking them about their diet and exercise? And then listen to what they say and see if it's something that you can adopt. Second, they have a don't-do list. Over the years, the best decision makers have taken stock of the distractions and time wasters, draining their energy and leading to the temptation to focus on more than one thing at once. For most, this is not a list that they've written down necessarily. It's more of a regimen of habits that they've developed to deal with the environmental distractions and temptations we all face. Remember, the only way to break a bad habit is by replacing it with a more productive alternative. For instance, what's a time suck in your life that should be replaced by something more productive? The time you save will relieve some of the pressure you feel to multitask. Now, third, they say no more often. Now, this doesn't mean they say buzz off all the time. Instead, they find diplomatic ways of declining tasks and meetings and other activities they find that are less than a good use of their time and attention. Now, this doesn't mean that they're completely focused on themselves, however. In addition to being high achievers on the job, many are also those types of people who contribute generously to their community. They just maintain a high level of expectation about time and investment and outcome. In fact, they'd rather lead the endeavor, for instance, than to serve under someone who is less than capable of doing so. Fourth, they put a clock to it. In other words, they chunk their time. Rather than simply starting a project, they consider how long the project should take to complete and then work toward that timeline. Rather than simply attending a meeting, they determine their role and work to minimize their time commitment. Rather than inviting you to sit down in their office, they'll come to you and remain standing while the conversation takes place. As a result, they accomplish more in shorter periods of time and lessen the probability that they will have to double up to catch up. Now, fifth, they ask, what does a successful outcome look like when making decisions? In many cases, there can be more than one successful solution to an obstacle or a problem, can't there? The best decision makers are careful not to get hung up on one specific outcome, if there are others that are just as good. They also recognize that there's lots of time when good enough is good enough. Spending unnecessary time on perfection drains mental energy and wastes valuable time. Consider a project you're working on right now or a decision you're facing. Have you asked yourself, what will success look like? Is there room for more than one successful outcome? Are you spending time perhaps perfecting something where good enough is enough to solve the problem or satisfy the stakeholders who are involved? And finally, sixth, they set aside time for personal balance and recovery. During a recent interview with a business owner, the conversation kind of turned toward balance. Her strategy? She said, airplanes are my escape zone. I need fun. I read fun books and I watch a movie. I catch up on personal relationships. I chat with the person next to me. Sometimes I just sit and stare at the seat in front of me and let my thoughts take me where they will. But when I deplane, I feel refreshed because I've had a chance to step back. What's your strategy for balance? Now, as I mentioned in the last post, all of this takes self-discipline, even in enforcing time for recovery. But multitasking is not a solution. It's an obstacle to becoming the best decision maker that you know you can be.